Hi everybody, Jillian here. Welcome back to my Heritage Scrapbook. Today I am creating a layout based on my great-grandmother. Here are the photos that I had to choose from. She passed away recently, but we had her memorial service this past week and celebrated her life, and I was really excited and inspired to get a couple of pages done for her part of the Heritage Scrapbook. So I pulled out these papers in slow motion from Paper's Poolside collection to scrap a couple of the beach pictures that you saw there. So let's get started. Now I have to apologize, for some reason this portion of the video is out of focus, so I'm just going to tell you what I'm going to do here so we can move forward. I am going to measure each one of these diamonds and cut the shapes from this piece of pattern paper so that I can have a vertical column of diamonds that my journaling, my photos, and my embellishments are going to rest on. So once I get these cut down to just under 3 inches, I'm then going to mat the photos on the reverse of this pattern paper. I overlapped the photos to give them a more casual feel since they're two beach photos, and I pulled out some of the chipboard from the Poolside collection. I really was excited to get to use that retro bathing suit. It was my favorite element from this collection. Now, I really had no idea what my title was going to be, so I pulled out the thickers that I wanted to use, and I figured they could help me decide what my limitations of my title were, depending on how many vowels I had. So to buy some time with the title, I'm going to take these Teresa Collins tile stickers and take out the numbers for the year 1965. On each page in this album, I'm always putting the year on the layout so that as you're flipping through, you can quickly get an idea of when these photos were taken. Okay, so we're back in focus. So what I'm going to do is put the year beneath the photos, and that in the end is going to have a teeny tiny embellishment cluster, I guess you could call it, around it. And in the meantime, I did figure out what my title was going to be. I stared up the photos, and then I saw that the name of my great-grandmother's boat was Ruthie. So in her memorial service, they talked about how this was one of her favorite places to be in her boat fishing. So I thought that was an appropriate title. Um, and then originally I thought that I wanted it to rest on the top of that one diamond, but I didn't like the way that it was hanging onto the aqua pattern paper, so I decided to put it on top of the photo. Next, I'm going to move these embellishments around quite a lot and try and figure out where I want things. Now, there is a little trap space between the title and that floral chipboard, so I'm going to pull 3 different packs of enamel dots and use just varying shades of aqua to fill that spot. So here I'm still fussing with which embellishments to include up top, and in the meantime I decided to go ahead and get my journaling down. So I'm moving the chipboard so that I can write more easily, but then I realized that I need to put it there so I know where to write so that it's not covered up by those pieces later. And they kind of reminded me of buoys, so I don't know what they're supposed to be, but I thought they reminded me of buoys, and that's why I used them. So my journaling says, Granny, at 49, is pictured on the left in her boat Ruthie with her catch. It is said that her boat was one of her favorite places to be. To the right, Granny poses on the beach in front of the tent she made. That's some serious craftsmanship. So I kind of run out of steam there, and I have this big empty space, and I wasn't sure what else to put there. I couldn't really think of more journaling, so I entertained the idea of putting some chipboard down there. So I'm studying the photos to see maybe if there's anything else that I can add, and sure enough, I round out my journaling with both photos were most likely taken near Marco Island on the west coast of Florida, and that filled up the space nicely. So then what I decide to do is to figure out what I'm going to put at the top of my journaling. So I thought that the one element, the aqua and navy triangle or diamond shaped thing, it was, what are those supposed to be? It was too large. So I pulled out the Studio Calico wood veneer hearts, and I thought about including them, but I didn't like the wood tone. I felt like it didn't really have a place in this layout. So what I ended up doing is pulling out some gelatos that I had, and I have just the basic colors. I got them for Christmas like 2 years ago, and I really don't ever use them. But and I'm reminded why here. They're very messy. So what I did is I'm coloring the wood veneer as I've been seeing on YouTube, and that didn't work. I didn't get the shade that I wanted. So I pulled out this Heidi Swap Color Shine. I don't know what color it is, but it ended up being too green. So I tried again just to make sure, and I get the stuff all over my fingers, and it's not the color that I'm looking for. So then I decide to reach for my Distress inks. So first I'm trying it on Cracked Pistachio, and it's still too green. So I just flip it over, and then I use my Peacock Feathers. And I like that color. I feel like it's a good fit. Now I take another heart, and then I kind of swipe it over the Mermaid Lagoon ink pad, and that was the other color that I decided to go with. I had also pulled out Salty Ocean over there on the top left, but I didn't even end up using it. And then so on this last heart, I end up mixing Peacock Feathers with Mermaid Lagoon, and it's the perfect blue. And then I'm showing you how dirty my fingers are. So I very carefully move the layout and then stick these things down. Now because Distress inks react with water, the glue, since it's a liquid, it was kind of moving the ink around. And I did get a little ink on the layout, but I don't think that you can see it really. And that's my layout. Here's typically where I would say thanks for watching, here are some close-ups, blah blah blah. But I have a surprise for you guys. It's a double feature. So I wanted to make 2 layouts about my great-grandmother. So I pulled out 2 more beach type photos of her and some more elements from the Poolside collection, as well as some random embellishments from my Messy Box subscription from A Beautiful Mess. And this page that I'm going to create is going to go in the right, on the right side of my album, and the original, the Ruthie page, is going to go on the left. And so I felt like Ruthie, I felt like that layout was really tame, and this one is way more bold. And it's not like a double page layout per se, they just coordinate. So what I'm doing here is using this floral piece of pattern paper, which I love, and I felt like it kind of had like that retro vibe. So that is going to be my background, and then I'm matting my photos in this, it almost looks like a photograph of water, and I really love that aqua color. So I'm going to go ahead and mat my photos with this paper to bring some more of this color in, so that it kind of mirrors the opposite page. And then this plus sign like background pattern paper, you know, it's the same one that I used on the other page, and so I feel like that also ties the two together. At this point, I don't know what my title is going to be, so I pulled out the letters FL from one of my Messy boxes, and it's the abbreviation for the state of Florida, and since that's where these photos were taken. And I'm just thinking about how I want to use them. I didn't know what my title was going to be, so while I'm thinking about that, I went ahead and fussy cut these sunglasses from some cards that I got in my Messy Box subscription. I don't really do pocket page scrapbooking anymore, and so I don't use them as they're intended, and that's one reason that I'm stopping this subscription. So this wood grain paper is from Crate Paper's The Pierre collection, which is at least a couple years old, but I pulled it in with my poolside papers because I felt like it was a good match, and I don't think that I purchased the wood grain paper from the poolside collection, if there even was one. So what I'm going to do, I decided, was to kind of make like just strips of pattern paper on this layout. And then I realized that with all of the papers on top, like layered in strips, that I was going to lose a lot of that floral paper. So what I decided to do is to move everything onto a sheet of just like white scrap paper that I have. This is something that I do often when I want to conserve paper. So I just have like the reverse of a piece of pattern paper from a paper pad that I'm not so crazy about, and that's what I use when I need white cardstock or something, just because I have so many paper pads and I need to get them used up, so I usually just flip them over and then use the white side. So all of these layouts in my heritage scrapbooks, I'm going to have two of them, one for my husband's side of the family and one for my side of the family. All of these layouts are 9 by 12. And I realized that I could have gone 8.5 by 11, but I think like numbers-wise or math-wise, when cutting the dimensions of these papers, I'm realizing now that 9 by 12 is a good fit for me, since it would be a lot easier for me to measure, from like making cuts from 12 inches instead of 11. I don't know. So I'm just going to trim off the excess because I usually, when I do this method of kind of like layering pattern paper or layering paper onto another sheet, I always like go a little longer than I should, just to be sure that I don't end up short. And so what I'm doing here is taking some freckled fawn washi tape, and I kind of wanted to cover the join of these papers, but it doesn't end up staying like this. That's not the color that I wanted to bring out of this layout. I wanted it to be more like aqua and with more cool colors, so I end up removing that. So, and then that yellow shipping tag, that's where my journaling is going to go. And then I'm going to put that bathing suit chipboard on the bottom right. So I'm overlapping the photos the same way I did on the opposite page, and then I'm just kind of thinking about how I want my title to appear on the page. And I think I ended up walking away and to come up with the title. So the title reads Florida Girl at Heart, and I'm using I guess 2 different types of letter stickers. So first, what I'm going to do is cover this F with some pattern paper. And I just lightly adhered the paper to the F. And as I'm cutting it, I'm realizing that you could have just traced it so that you can save the letter and use it for something else. So that's what I end up doing. And fortunately, this Elmer's dot runner adhesive comes up pretty easily, so I should be able to salvage it. So I wise up, and then I go ahead and just trace the L with my pencil and cut it out. And I really like how this brings in that floral pattern paper in 3 areas on the layout. This is probably the most vibrant heritage layout that I've done so far too. So what I did was I took 2 different sticker sheets from Basic Gray, and I put the like subtitle, I guess, onto wax paper to get it on the layout and see which one I liked better. So I ended up going with the cream colored alphabet. I think it's from the Herbs and Honey Basic Gray collection. And then the word girl is from the Amy Tangerine +1 transparent sticker sheet. So I'm just going to have the title kind of cascading down the page. So girl sits on top of the photo, and then the at heart is going to sit in the top left of the shipping label or shipping tag, and then my journaling is going to go underneath the letter stickers. So I get that down, and I'm happy with how it looks, and then I went ahead and took the tile stickers from Teresa Collins, and I went ahead and pulled the numbers that I needed for these dates too. The photo on the left was taken in 1963, and the one on the right is from 1965. I don't really know what's going on in the photo on the right. I'm not sure who my great-grandmother is pictured with. She is on the left. It may be one of her sisters, but I can't be certain. And I haven't really gotten the family history from her sons yet. So she's actually like one of the hardest ancestors or relatives that I've had kind of researching. So what I'm going to do is I pop up the sunglasses on some foam adhesive, and that's going to like live on top of the Florida part of my title. And then for my journaling, I looked at the photo, and it says behind her she's standing in front of a sign that says Caught Nicole Marco Island. So honestly, what I did to figure out the journaling was I Googled just that, and I found out, I ended up finding like this 14-minute video on YouTube about the history of Marco Island, and it actually referenced this spot that my great-grandmother is standing in. So I was able to identify the place. It now goes by something different, but it's just really cool to see what you can find on the internet. You really would be surprised. One thing that I like to use is newspapers.com. They will give you a free 7-day trial, and disclaimer, I am in no way affiliated with them, but you can find so much information on newspapers.com if you like search your family's name and then filter your results by where you know they lived. And we found some really cool stuff. There's one layout that I'm really excited to share with you. I haven't created it yet. I'm still looking for a photo of my relative, but I'm really excited to share it with you. And it's this really cool story that my family didn't even know and that we found on newspapers.com. So be sure to tune in for that one. So basically all my journaling is saying is she may have been born in Oklahoma, but Granny is a Florida girl through and through. She's pictured left at the Snook Hole Motel in Marco Island in August of '63 with, most likely, her catch behind her. I remember her catching catfish with me nearby as a kid at her home in Everglades City, Florida. So I'm 31 years old and she just recently passed away. So I have had the fortunate I've been fortunate enough to grow up with her and to be able to remember hanging out with her. And I do remember her catching catfish in the lake near her home. And fun fact, I actually tripped and fell and skinned my knee really bad at that lake, and that's the reason that I will not eat catfish to this day. So what I'm going to do is I'm just kind of journaling around that swimsuit so that it's just kind of tucked into there nicely. And then I pull out the enamel dots from the messy box. I think this is from June's messy box, which was my favorite. It had so much stuff in it. And it's kind of gone downhill from there, which is another reason I'm no longer going to subscribe. So I go ahead and I put the enamel dots in 3 spots on the page. I'm going to put a couple of them next to the word girl. And that'll do it. Here's a final look at my page along with some close-ups. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you didn't mind the double feature. I really enjoy sharing these stories and these photos with you, and I love hearing your comments. So if you guys have any questions or just want to say hi, feel free to comment, like, or subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon.